Today we're going to talk about the A7 IV and firmware version 1.10. When updating from a version lower than version 1.01, you need to update to version 1.05 first. Can it be any more confusing, Sony? The first sentence says if you have a version lower than 1.01, then update to 105 first. Well, I have version 1.01, it's not lower. So I already downloaded version 1.10, and when I tried to update, the camera was unresponsive for an hour. When I returned to the site, it turns out that distribution has been suspended. There was a bug in the firmware update. So at this point, I'm stuck with version 1.10. I couldn't update. Thankfully for you, I am an influential YouTuber. I reached out to the folks at Sony and they told me to pound dirt. So I resorted to plan B, which a lot of married folks would know very well. And I started begging. Eventually I got both files, version 1.05 and version 1.10. So the update is quite easy. Just transfer bodydata.dat over to this SD card of yours, or it could be the CF Express card. And just make sure that you have space for 800 megabytes worth of files. I didn't have to do a quick format. However, you can if you want to. All right, so pop in the memory card. Before you update, make sure you remove all important data from your card and have a fresh battery. My memory card shows up as the G drive. Now I'm going to get the version 1.05. So I'm just going to drag it right over. That's it. You should have a file that's 820,000 kilobytes or 820 megabytes, and just eject the drive. Now the SD card is safe for removal. And the firmware is ready to update. Alright, this is important, so listen closely. Put the SD card back into slot 1. It has to go to slot 1. Turn on your camera. Hit menu. Click on setup. Click on setup option. And then click on version. And click on software update. Be sure to scroll through the entire disclaimer, read it carefully, and then hit the execute. At that point, it will be performing the firmware update. The process took me 4 minutes and 30 seconds with a V60 SD UHS-2 card. Repeat the process outlined from 1.16 to 3.00 to update version 1.05 to 1.10. Now let's see what the new firmware offers. The first one, the most important one, and that is a new type of RAW. Lossless compressed in large, medium, and small. So this was the one that a lot of people were asking, and Sony upped the ante by giving 3 versions of this lossless compressed. Keep in mind that your full burst speeds will slow down with these modes. So one thing that I really wish they could have done was made everything more like this JPEG quality. You see over here, JPEG quality, you have 2 versions, and image size, you have 2 versions. It would be nice if I could have raw quality and raw image versions so that I can save 2 different types of RAWs. One on my primary card would be the original RAW, the full large one, and the other one would be a small RAW, but that's all we're getting. Next up, we're going to look at touch menu shooting, and that should be under the setup, touch operation, and touch function and shooting. This is currently disabled since I'm using HDMI out, so let's unplug it. So you have 3 options: touch focus, touch tracking, and touch shutter. I'm going to choose touch shutter. Here we go. I'm going to try my best to touch myself.
Wow!
Other updates in the A7 IV v1.1 include the ability to record the camera serial number in the metadata of video files, improved operability of Wi-Fi connections, a 1-minute setting added to power save by monitor menu, the ability to brighten the viewfinder according to ambient brightness, and lastly, improvement on IAF and operational stability, whatever that means, based on a firmware that has been recalled. So I do have a small issue with the 16 to 35 PZ, which I mentioned in the review, by the way. It's on my channel. So when I turn on the camera and I zoom in really fast without letting it wait, it will produce an error message. Let's see if it's still here. Oh, okay. This operational setting not available as follows: RAW file format. So there is still a bug. Let's try it in video mode. So I turn it off and I am gonna start racking the zoom right away. It's still here. This function is currently disabled. Yeah, so they didn't get rid of all the bugs. However, the new additions are nice. And that's all I have for today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, sub, share. You know the deal. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day and see you on the next one. Take care.